Hey everyone, this is Tingo welcoming you to yet another Sudoku Saturday. This is the fourth puzzle that I set. It's called Roman Ratios, and I'm going to show you today how to solve it. This is a pretty easy tutorial actually on Roman sums, which is the V and X clues, and the black dot 2-to-1 ratio. So if you're very new to variant Sudoku and you want an easy puzzle to kind of learn the tricks in the Roman sums or the ratio class, here's a good puzzle for you. Let's jump right in. So, normal Sudoku rules apply. That means a 1 through a 9 in every box, row, and column. Cells separated by a V sum to 5. So here, not all V's are given. Cells separated by an X sum to 10. Not all X's are given. And cells separated by a black dot are a ratio of 2-to-1 in value. Not all black dots are given. So what I'm basically saying is there is no negative constraint. It is possible that you could have two cells that share a side here, and those cells could sum up to a 5, a 10, or have a ratio in value of 2-to-1 without having any of the markings to indicate that. So don't necessarily look for the negative constraint. Alright, so one of the things that we can talk about in the Roman ratios puzzle is that with both Roman sums and 2-to-1 ratios, there are certain digits that stick out like a sore thumb. And this one actually is the digit that gets beaten up all the time. The one I look for typically in this situation is a 5, because 5s don't fit in any of these rules. You can't have two cells joined by an X and have a 5 in both. It doesn't work. It violates the rules of Sudoku. You can't have a 5 on one side of a 5 sum because there's no 0 in the rules of Sudoku. And for a ratio digit, you can't have a 5 on one side because your other side would have to be either 2.5 or 10. And neither of those are valid Sudoku digits. So this opening box, this box right here is the opener. This is where you get your break in. The very first digit is kind of telegraphed. It's right there. That's the 5 because it's the only box that doesn't have any of these clues in it. So there you go. One thing I do as well is I like to color code when I'm doing the Roman sums and German whispers variants. It helps me keep track of the polarity of digits, high and low. I use blue for the low digits, and I use green for the high digits. I know some people use orange instead of green. If you want to color it however you would like to, feel free. I personally just love the green and blue colors in this palette. So that's why I do it that way. Alright, so let's get filling in here with some of these things. We're going to go put in 1, 2, 3, and 4 because we know that's where they go. Incidentally, and I'll just mark this with a color, because this is a 5 sum, and they both of these 5 sums share that cell, these two digits are the same. So this one and this one. So I'm going to mark that with just a black slash just to denote that. And as soon as we solve this break-in, we'll get rid of the black slash because it'll just get in the way. But just for illustrative purposes, that's why I'm putting it there. Alright, so now let's do the big cells here. We got 6, 7, 8, 9. 6, 7, 8, 9. And these are 1, 2, 3, 4. So a couple of quick things. This applies in every ratio. There are certain digits that cannot show up on a 2-to-1 ratio in Sudoku. 5, 7, and 9. And that's because they are odd, and their doubles, which would be 10, 14, and 18, don't exist as a single Sudoku digit. And their halves also don't exist because they're 2.5, 3.5, and 4.5. And we use integers in Sudoku. So because of these ratio dots here, we can actually eliminate the 7s and 9s in those positions. Now what does that do? Well, that changes the situation about the other digits. In this box, and we'll get back to this in a minute, that'll be the next thing I do. So hang on here. I know I'm leaving that kind of unmarked. What that'll do is that will allow us to do some quick reductions in our pencil marks, and we'll be able to see very quickly what's going on here. So there's a 7 or a 9. on each of these, so that would have to be a 1 or 3 on each of those. This is a 6 or 8 on each of these, and the 1 or 3 here, so this is now a 1 or 3 as well because we said that's the same digit. And the 1s and 3s are now out of here, so that's now a 2 or a 4. Now here's where the ratio breaks us in. A 1 can only go next to a 2 on a ratio. An 8 can only go next to a 4 on a ratio. So in this case, the 1 and the 8 are the odd man out. So we're going to go 3, 6, 8. Here's the 2. I'm sorry, here's the 4. Here's the 2. These are both 1, as I said before. And these are now both 9. We'll get rid of that black slash just to make it easier to see. Here's a 7. And now we don't have a 1, which means we also don't have a 4. This is now a 2-3 pair. And there we go. So now again, we'll get back over here. We'll talk about these pencil marks. This could be a 2 or a 4. There's no 1, 3. That means this must be an odd version. So that's a 1 or a 3. This is a 6 or an 8. This could be a 2 or a 6. Those are our options for the ratio. This could be a 3 with the 6 or a 4 with the 8. But we have a 3 already in the row. So we know this is a 4. This is now an 8. Here's the 2. Here's the 3. Here's the 7. Here's the 6. This is also a 6 because of the sum. We can get rid of the 2 here. We can get rid of the 4 here. So we're getting pretty quick information, and this does kind of fall apart. Like I said, this is a good tutorial for ratios and Roman sums. So for any advanced Sudoku player, this is probably going to be a quick little solve for you. This is 5 and 9. That's all that's left here. We have only one possible pairing left to sum to 10, which is a 1, 9 in that box. There's a 9 here, so here's a 1, here's a 9. This is now no longer a 1, 4 pair, which means that's a 2, 3 pair. There's only one digit available here, so that's the orientation. We know that already. And then this is going to be a 5. That'll be the last digit we have to put in that box. So we've got boxes 1 and 6 done. We're pretty confident in what we've got going on here. Now it's time to swing around and see what else we can solve. So we have a 10 spot here. And what we can see right away is there's a 1, a 4 in the column, and there's a 2 or 3 in the box. So this is actually going to be the high digit. So this will be a low digit, and this is a 1, 4 pair, which means this is a 6, 9. There's a 9 here, so we already know there's a 6. There's the 4. And now we can find where the 1 goes. Because of this, the 1 goes vertically. Let's see, is there anything else we know about this now? 7s. So 7s are actually relatively restricted there. 6s go here because of this and this. Alright. And I'm sure we're going to make some more interesting deductions, but let's actually follow the flow here. The design flow is actually to go down from here after doing these two boxes. And you can see why really quickly. There's a 1, 2, or a 3 in an X sum, so this must be a 4, 6 pair based off of the lower digits that are left. And so because there's a 6 here, this is a 4, here's the 6, and the 8 goes vertically. The 7 goes anywhere. The 5 can't go in either of those. So here you go. 5, 8, 7. And we've got that solved. So here we have a 3, a 5, and a 6 possible. There can't be a 5 on an X for reasons we've discussed. This is a 4, a 7, and then in this position a possible 9. And we've got a 1, 2, or an 8 over here. Now remember, I said there is no negative constraint on the X sum, so if there could be an 8 and a 2 right next to each other, you wouldn't necessarily need an X for that to happen. And there could be a 2 and a 1 next to each other, and you wouldn't need a black dot for that to happen. For here, if there was a negative constraint where all black dots were given, the 4 would actually limit this cell down to just the 1, because without a black dot, the 2, which is 2 to 1 on 4, or the 8, which is 2 to 1 on 4, would be ruled out. But like I said, there is no negative constraint. So we do have all of those options available to us yet in the cells. Okay. let's talk the next step here. We've got 3s are here and here. We've got 2s are here and here. Very interesting. We've got 1s which are here and here. That does mesh with that if we were to use that. We'll find out later if that's a thing. 6s go here. But 4s don't. So there you go. There is an X sum, and 6s go in one of these 3 positions, but because the 4 is already in the column, the 6 is off of both sides of this. So there's a 6, which now means this is a 1, a 9, or a 7, it looks like. 1, 9, or 7, yep. And we know the 7 doesn't go with an X sum with a 1 or a 9, so this must be a 1-9 pair. And because of that, we know the 9 isn't on a black dot ratio, so we actually know the orientation. 1, here's a 9, there's our 2, here's an 8, this is now garbage. This is now an 8, so again, showing the ratio does not actually need a black dot. Same thing here. We have a 9 here, and we can get all that trimmed back. So there we go. 7 puts a 7 in this row, which means that points up here, and here's a 7. 8, 8, here's an 8. 5s are vertical here. 9s are vertical here. There we go, there's a 5. Okay, let's see, 5 would now be here, and that means this is a 4. Alright, we're kind of running out of options here, so let's see what we can solve this way. 1, a 2, or a 3 already in this row. Let's see what we have available to us. This is highly restricted for the X sum. So we have on the low side a 4 available, and on the high side we only have a 7 or an 8. On the bottom of that, the 4 would have to be on a 6. There's a 6 here, so that actually rules out the 6. I'm sorry, rules out the 4. So then this is now a 7 or an 8, which makes this now a 2 or a 3, which makes this now, of the available options, there's no 1, so the 2 must be next to a 4, and the 3 must be next to a 6. And here's a very interesting point. Because this is a 4 or a 6, this X can never be a 4 and a 6. So this cell, even though we don't know what the value is, actually tells us what this is. So we have the orientation. There's a 3, there's a 7, here's a 4, the 5, the 6, and that actually points over into this box as well. There's a 5, that takes the 5s out of here. For similar reasons, we also have the 4 or the 6 must go in the row in 2 positions. And so there can never be a 4 or a 6 down here, using that logic, or also the fact that this is pointing at it. So there's 2 ways to show that these can never be a 4-6. There must be a 4-6 pair in this box, so it lives here. There's your 6, so there's a 6 and there's a 4. There's the 3, there's the 7. This is a 6. And we now know what way around that is. That's a 9 and that's a 1 based off what's left. There's a 2, there's a 1, here's a 5, here's a 9. And we have now exhausted all of our clues and our pencil marks, and the rest is just down to your ability to do Sudoku. So hopefully this is a fun little finish off for everyone who's gotten this far and is playing along. We've got 5s here, that can be there. In fact, 3, 7, and we know there's a 3, 7, so there's the 5. This is garbage. There's a 7, 3. The 8 is now down below here. Also down is a 2. We don't have that solved quite yet. 1s are very restricted here. 4s are here. 2, 8. There, we can get rid of some of those pencil marks. Okay, and there's a 3, 7 in here somewhere. One of the 3 or one of the 7 is in there. So we don't have that solved yet, but that just because that doesn't have extra pencil marks doesn't mean I can just fill them in. So we got a 3, 2 up here. So there's the 2, there's the 3. Here's now a 2 that must be, a 7 that must be, a 3 that must be, 7 that must be. Here's a 2. This is now a 7, 8. I'm sorry, that's not a 7, 8. That is a 3-8 pair, and there's a 3 pointing at it. So there's the 8 and there's the 3. At some point, these will have to be resolved. We're obviously getting really close to that. There's a 9 and a 5 right there. That's how it's solved. 1, 9. Okay. And then we're down to a 1. That would be a 4. And then we need a 7, and we need an 8. And there you go. 15 minutes on the nose. And that is how to solve Roman ratios by me, Tingo. If you want to play along, the link is always going to be in the description, so I will have that there for you. I hope you enjoyed this puzzle, and I hope you have a good time playing it yourself. And for anybody who's using this as a tutorial video, I hope you enjoy the wonderful world of simple but entertaining variant Sudokus. As always, thanks for watching, and have a great day.